Agent for replay task. You with map video gen. Swift to the project. By double click use. You with maps. We will zip you guitar for replay task. See task till you do here. See you can repeat that method. You with maps swift to the project. Repeat that method till this that goes. You can. Here is secrets like. Wow, it's doing.
And that right there was the intro to the most beautiful mod I have ever seen in my life. Hello everybody, I am the Hylian Juggalo, and this is my first entry into the world of Let's Playing, and today we're going to be looking at Hyrule Total War, a wonderful, wonderful mod for Mideval II. This is just purely out of fun. I don't expect to become some big name LPer. I'm doing this for the community at large, for support of the project, and as a secondary goal, hopefully kind of use this to exploit or find new bugs within the game. Because, hey, we all know the rule of the internet, Pixar didn't happen, right? But in all seriousness, this mod is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I found it in early October last year, joined the forums, and all due credit goes to this wonderful gentleman by the alias Undying Nephilim. He's just so amazingly talented. I mean, it's not just him, it's about maybe 5 other people, but I could be wrong on that. But the grand majority of the work always comes back to him, and his devotion to this project is just amazing. For a fan-made piece of work, this is one of the most beautiful Zelda games I've ever seen in my life. And as you can see, you can see from the sheer size of it, that in just a span of like a year and a half, this fine gentleman has just done so much. You've got upwards of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like almost 20 factions, and plenty more on top of that you can't actually play as in the campaign. it is an amazing piece of work. You've got all the major races of Hyrule. You've got everything you can possibly think of. It's literally a Zelda fan's every dream, or at least the darker ones. And see, that's the main idea behind this mod, for those who don't know, is for the people who are in their, late teens, early to mid-20s, who grew up with Ocarina and Majora's Mask and whatnot, we've come to recognize as we grew older the more subtle adult tones that existed within the games, and the darker upbringing that Zelda initially had, and seeing that more hardcore, more adult aspect fade away over time has left kind of a bitter taste in some Zelda fans' mouths. So this is pretty much a way to remedy that situation, even though it's only a fan-based thing. And without further ado, let's jump right into this thing. I'm going to be playing as the Labrynna regime, because these guys are just awesome. I mean, for Christ's sake, they have guns. Okay, you don't get any better than that. They have guns. You don't beat that. To make things interesting, I'm just going to keep stuff on medium difficulty, not too rough, not too bad. I want to run through this nice and quick for a first-time LP. So let's jump right to it. And you can see over people who actually know about the mod, how much work he's poured into this is just amazing. You can tell just by the amount of loading times. Because I can tell you, for people who haven't played this, between the last version and this version, the initial loading screen took literally 10 seconds. This, well, you can see this. Because this, well, tick-tock, 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 come on. Tick-tock, tick-tock, there. Freeze, come on. You freeze. Come on, boy. You can do it. You can do it. I know you can do it. There we go. The smallest of things impacts the largest of manifestations. Minish saying. I do not remember any Minish saying that. But okay. We'll roll with it. And that is a creepy-ass looking model. I'm just going to point that out. The Labrynna regime. Greetings, Lord, and my sincere gratitude that you have been chosen to lead Labrynna to a new age of prosperity. There are some facts that you must consider first, though, before you see to the management of our kingdom. We have always been a prosperous nation. Fortune has favored our land, and resources have always been abundant. The Tokay of Crescent Island have for a long time been willing slaves and servants of our people. Frankly, we've had it good, but this will not last forever if we sit here and dry up the land. We must seek new frontiers, new lands, and more resources for the regime. Most importantly, to our north, the land of Holodrum is ripe for the picking. There seems to be no real empire to oppose our being there, and it is advised that you establish a foothold in this land as soon as possible. Far to the west, the rumored land of Hyrule is also a potential target. Should you find a way to combat the races of the forest, then perhaps we can get a foothold in Hyrule and access to its potential resources. With this in mind, I have confidence that Labrynna will continue to enjoy the luxury we have had for many years. Begin now, my lord, and may you have luck on your side. You can tell just by the amount of text he puts in the initial startup how much this gentleman cares. Undying Ephraim, I salute you. Medal to you, brother. Now, okay, as you can see, we only have 2 little cities, and as far as morale goes, they're not doing so well. What I like to do with my games is set everything, taxes, recruitment, building, all of it on auto-manage, all of it. And from the start, you're not going to want to pump out units right away. You're just going to want to throw things into a balanced build policy. Because you want to build a decent amount of units that can get you some land, and then you want to deal with building up your forces and your society. So with that, let's just skip to the next turn and see where we go. The major thing about Labrynna is, well, look at that. Baron Sorceress of Shadows. I am Queen Ambi's advisor, and she prefers my existence remain a secret. You will keep silent on this matter, otherwise he will vanish in the night. Queen Ambi. I am Queen Ambi, ruler of Labrynna, and soon all countries in the land. Service my goals well, and you will be repaid. Fail me, and I'll be sure you are an example of your example to your replacement. Ugh. Tongue-tied there. Don't lie. So we start out with a couple of basic units. What I like to do is take the more bossy special characters and put them in the capital. Don't know why, I just feel like that. Whenever your leaders die, your big faction leaders die, your soldiers start rebelling like no other. They just say, okay, screw it, I'm done. What we're going to focus on here is just trying to expand around the basic landmass we have here. Nothing too terribly special. We're going to keep things basic, take a couple of rebel settlements. A major tactic you need to learn to focus on here with the Labrynna regime is they are a ranged group. They are not very good melee fighters. They're decent, don't get me wrong, and they do well in basic combat, but when you're fighting against, say, more brutal races like the Goma or the Moblins, you do not want to face them in hand-to-hand combat. You want to mow them down with what firepower you have. But to start out with, we're going to have basic, grunts, basic melee men. We don't really get a lot of ranged units until later. And for right now, that's going to be okay, because all you're really dealing with are Tokay cannon fodder as rebels, which isn't really going to cause any problems. It looks like we got a mission. Let's reinforce symmetry. We have 5 turns to reinforce symmetry. Okay, well, shit. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this town over, and then I'm going to move all my units back. So, already in turn 3, we are assaulting our first settlement. So, let's get right to it. This will be very simple, very quick, nothing too bad. We won't lose a lot of men, hopefully. If I don't, butcher this royally. We should be okay. Now, as you can see, what we have here are just basic light infantry guys and your run-of-the-mill, basically what I like to call fluff units that literally serve no purpose other than being what they're called, cannon fodder. They're nothing more than a distraction, and they're nothing more than to just thin out enemy numbers. You send these guys out into the brawl immediately. One thing I like about Labrynna's melee, despite how weak they are, is their ability to do Schiltrum. It's a very German word. A lot of people in competitive medieval Total War, competitive Total War gameplay and tournaments and online battles, they will tell you that, oh, that's the noob circle move, the Schiltrum formation. You don't want to use that. But in all actuality, in reality, it's a very effective way of holding yourself up if you're outnumbered. It's a very beautiful combat tactic. So the basic idea with the Labrynna regime is to bring out your fluff. What you want to do initially, I found with the Labrynna regime, is you want to mow down and shoot out as many enemy units as is possible with your ranged weapons. Then bring out your fluff units, thin them out, and then move your melee guys in to clean it up. And it's pretty much rinse and repeat from there. If you're playing against human players, you're going to have to get a little creative, but otherwise, the formula pretty much stays the same. So let's speed this up a little bit. I'm trying to find out where this music is from. I don't remember if it's from a Zelda game in particular. Someone pointed out, tell me where it's from, if it's something you recognize, because I sure as hell don't. All I know is it's probably from a wonderful gentleman under the alias Sidon White. Amazing man. Does wonderful musical tracks for this game and a lot of other Undying Nephilim's works. He does amazing music in its own right, whether it's a game or otherwise. And Stygian, personally, if you are watching this somewhere in the near future, the highest of bro hooves go out to you. Oops, did I just say that out loud? Out loud? Deal with it, eh? Seriously. Now we're gonna let our guys just kind of beat them up a little bit. Nothing too severe. A thing about the Labrynna regime, since the starting of your combat is going to be mostly melee based, you're going to want to move your fluff units into the gates as soon as possible for one reason and one reason only. Once you take the gates, the defensive towers stop firing. So at that point, you can safely move all of your other units into town. You're going to want to wipe those guys out immediately. Now, for those who don't know what's going on here, there's a small graphical glitch that's been going on with the recent update, and they all look all weird and silvery and monochromatic. They're supposed to look, well, like lizard people, but apparently not. Okay, we're gonna speed this up. Basically, like I said, you're going to want to just let your fluff do most of the work for you at the beginning points in the campaign as you play as Labrynna. Over time, when we start building up an empire, we start building up our cities, we're going to focus more on heavy artillery and ranged weaponry. But generally, for the first few missions, for the first few sieges, for the first few battles, you're going to want to keep your units at a very basic I lost the word I was trying to say. You want to keep your units at very basic and just do all your grunt work through hand-to-hand combat, because it's literally going to be your only tool. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm just senselessly murdering these guys, which is, again, just to thin out numbers. Nothing more, just to thin out numbers. Okay, it looks like these guys are routing for good. So with that said, it looks like those guys are routing. I'm going to take my other squads, put them into Slitron formation, and we're going to roll over these guys. Again, this will generally be the easy part, nothing too terribly special. It looks like we lost that squad of units, but we'll be alright. We don't need these bastards anyway. Because we got everything in the bag here. Again, since Labrynna is not a very melee-centric military, keep your generals in the back, always. Keep your generals in the back. Always keep your generals in the back. I don't care what anybody says, that's what you want to do. Ah, the beautiful sound of metal on metal laid through flesh. Again, back to the Slitron formation. As you can see, it's a very, very effective combat style. I'm keeping my casualties to a minimum, and these guys are getting just thrown down like ragdolls. It's just beautiful. So once more, this is just going to be your mainstay combat tactic for a while. We'll speed things up here real fast. And there goes the enemy general. Awesome. Looks like we won. That's right, run back to mommy. Bitch. Now, occasionally the enemy's going to surrender and whatnot, and you can always choose to run the battle and just kill them all or end it. Right now we're just going to end the battle, because at this point in time you're going to want to focus on conserving men. Again, we're running on balanced build policies here, so you're going to want to run through at very minimal cost. We did pretty well, not as great as we could have done, but we did alright. For a first run, this isn't bad. Again, also starting, you don't want to piss people off. Labrynna from this current build, 2.1, has a very strange unrest morale issue at the moment. You do not want to piss the citizens off. Ever. So we're going to end the turn since we have our first settlement. And it looks like we're running extremely low on cash. So we're going to keep things very simplistic here and just focus on building up our empire. We're going to come out and take over a few small settlements, maybe 2 or 3, nothing bad. A new general. It's always beautiful to see that message. Generals, for those who don't play Total War, are always going to be integral to your military. Seriously, if you don't hold on to generals, or you don't keep generals in your squads, they have a big chance of revolting. And trust me, with factions like, say, Dark Nuts and Moblins, that happens a lot. So we're gonna see where we stand here. It looks like we got most of our cannon fodder back after that fight. Okay, that's not cool. That's not cool. We gotta move those guys back in because that place is not doing so well. They're kind of pissed off. Okay. We're just gonna move these guys up here. Specifically just so we can get our military unit reward. Get that mission out of the way. Considering we can't move anybody right now, we don't have a choice but to move on to the next turn. So, let's do that. Wait around. See where things take us. Now, I love the Labrynna regime personally for their combat ability with their ranged weapons. In this particular build of the campaign, they're pretty limited, but let's see what we got. You've been rewarded with 2 units of border guards at your capital. That's nice. Speaking of retraining, I just retrained my Iranian border guards. That's nice. That always helps. Now let's see, one thing you always want to do, especially with Labrynna and factions that have a lot of morale-based issues as of the current build, one thing I found out to test is don't ever move your units out unless you're absolutely certain that they can do that you're not going to get a lot of civil unrest problems. If the loyalty goes to yellow, you'll be fine. But if it goes to red, just get back in there. You always want, if you really want to test out to see if you're gonna go into a civil revolt, which will happen every time the loyalty goes to red, just put your guys right outside, check to see if the color changes, and then put them right back in. That way you don't waste any movement points. It's a very crucial thing you're going to have to learn with any faction. So now we have border guards. Here we start getting into the ranged aspect of Labrynna, which is a very, very beautiful thing. Basically what we're going to do here is go after this particular town up here in the Nun Highlands. Now, seeing as their loyalty is not doing very well, we can't move anyone out here, so we're stuck now. I usually like to take 5 to 10 minutes, give or take, to actually plan things out and see how far I can stretch things before I move on to the next turn, see how much I can build, how far I can go with, you know, my troops. But for the sake of time and for the sake of this thing, and since I played Labrynna so much, I pretty much know what's going to happen in the first 10 to 15 turns. And you end up just, you know how things are going to play out. And look at that, we got a mission to take this settlement, which I was going to do anyway. Wait, what? What the hell? Okay, there we go. I'm going to build a ram. Create a build order for a ram. we're gonna move the general. Actually, no, we're gonna keep the general. And we're actually gonna move just this small unit of men out here. This should be enough to take this settlement. Nothing too severe, nothing too risky. We're just gonna keep doing what we like to do, which is expand. Manifest Destiny is the basis of the Labrynna regime. You want to expand on what open land, what rebel land you have. Because come turn number 30, come turn number 40, you're gonna start seeing the Deku tribes pop up everywhere. You're probably gonna get attacked by River Zoras, and you're gonna want as much land and as much power as possible. So we want to spread out and build quickly. The whole tone of this game is so much darker than any other Zelda that I've seen to date, and that's pretty much just due to one thing that Undying Nephilim pretty much said, okay, you know what, Nintendo, I don't like the way you're doing things, so screw you, I'm going to rape your lore and make my own set of lore. So pretty much every faction in the game has practically a revamped or altered backstory that's tragic in some way or another. And it's actually pretty wicked. Now we have the ability to do a night attack. There are a few things you need to know about a night attack, for those who don't play. Just night attacks, while they look cool on the battle map, are worthless if you're fighting one-on-one. Are helpful if you have